Good morning. This is Tommy Stone with another His Life devotional thought. Today is Friday, October the 16th. Today's devotional thought comes from one of the most memorable passages of Scripture, the chapter 11 of John. There's so many themes here that really are important to faith. Number one is this is one of the last in the list of signs that John presents so that people might believe in Jesus. It displays the power of Jesus and his connection to the Father. But it also certainly speaks to the struggle that you and I have with suffering, especially suffering that leads to the loss of loved ones. Why does God allow these things to take place? Well, the theological answer to that goes back to the beginning and sin entered the world, and when sin entered the world, death entered the world. That's the pat answer to that question. But when you back up and you say, well, okay, that may be true, but why does God do what he does in the world in regard to me? It becomes a little more difficult. This is when a lot of people struggle with faith. A lot of people read John chapter 11 for comfort in the fact that Jesus proclaims that he's the resurrection and the life, and that those who believe in him will live. But this happens on the occasion of a funeral, and funerals are times when faith is tested. If faith is not strong, a funeral, a losing of a loved one can be a very devastating event to faith. What I love about chapter 11 of John 2 is obviously the indication here that Jesus cares about this man who's a friend, Lazarus, who dies. Cares about the family, Mary and Martha. These were friends of his. He cares about the injustice in regard to death and sickness. And he is certainly set to claim victory in some way over death through his death. But in the moment where he is faced with the death of his friend here, and he knows all about it, he still weeps because he feels that pain and the testing of the faith. I want to read from John 11, beginning in verse 32. When Mary reached the place where Jesus was and saw him, she fell at his feet and said, "Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died." You know, that's a statement of faith. Jesus, if you had gotten here in time, then Lazarus would not just be, would be recovering from being sick, because you would have healed him. Here's the thing, though. Jesus, apparently away from Bethany, where these things took place, certainly could have, as he had done on other occasions, simply spoken the word, and Lazarus would have been healed of this sickness. Didn't even have to make an appearance for that to take place. So when Mary says, if you had been here, my brother would not have died, that's the struggle of faith. There's the reality of sickness and death. And there's the truth about the care and power of God. So how do you reconcile those things? Certainly when you and I go through difficult circumstances regarding health or the losing of a loved one, it's a test of faith. It's something that God allows. Maybe we'll never understand it in this life. But in John chapter 11, we get a glimpse of what the purpose of all this is. He speaks about the fact that he's glad that Lazarus has died because the disciples are going to have reason to believe in him even further. He's glad that Lazarus died so that God's glory can be revealed. He's not happy about death and its effects on humanity. But he knows that this is an occasion, not just for the testing of faith, but for people to believe in him, for God's glory to be revealed. When Jesus saw Mary weeping, and the Jews who had come along with her also weeping, the text says he was deeply moved in spirit and troubled. I love that. It's going to say in a moment that he wept, but he was moved and troubled at the heartache and sorrow of others. Heartache and sorrow that he could have prevented, but he waits for his reasons. Doesn't mean that it's easy. Doesn't mean that he doesn't feel what they felt. So he says, where have they laid him? Come and see, they said. And so Jesus wept. Then the Jews said, see how he loved him. But some of them said, could not he who opened the eyes of the blind man have kept this man from dying? The answer is yes. You see, they're not even sure they believe that he could be brought back from the dead. That's where the glory of God is going to be seen here. Jesus, once more deeply moved, came to the tomb. It was a cave with a stone laid across the entrance. Take away the stone. Martha objects because it's been 4 days and decomposition has probably already set in. But Jesus says, did I not tell you that if you believe, you will see the glory of God? So they took away the stone, and Jesus looked up and said, Father, I thank you that you have heard me. I know that you always hear me. But I said this for the benefit of the people standing here, that they may believe that you sent me. You see, on this occasion at least, Jesus allows Lazarus, who is sick, to die. He allows those who love him to mourn and grieve and be pained. He allows this to take place so that even you and I today can pick up this story and read about Jesus and decide that he was more than simply a teacher, a whole lot more. God has his reasons for allowing suffering in our lives. Sometimes it is a test of faith. Sometimes it's simply what God allows because of a result of the fallen world that we live in, because sin has broken us. Sometimes he does it so that we will call out to him, change our hearts, and reach out to him once again. God has his reasons. And if we're people of faith, we just have to hold on, even through difficult times when we suffer and when we grieve. That's the lesson that I get from John chapter 11. I'm thankful for the devotional writer who shared this today. His last line is that you and I ought to remember that in our challenges, the Lord may be waiting to show us something better, something greater. It's true, if we're willing to hold on to faith. We hope that you have a wonderful weekend. Thank you for tuning in again. And with whatever you're going through right now, if it's a hard or difficult thing, lean into your faith in Jesus and to your faith in God and wait. Something better, something greater can result. Have a wonderful weekend.